Hello there, I'm Sarah, your natural endometriosis expert. Welcome to my podcast. This is the place to be for information, advice and tips on managing your endometriosis naturally. I've been managing my own endo now successfully for about 20 years, and I've been running my own therapy business since 2008, helping others to do the same. If you're curious to cut through all the noise and rubbish that's out there and learn the key to managing endometriosis with minimal reliance on drugs and surgery, then this is the only podcast you'll need. Let's get started. Hello there. So today we are going to talk about the issue of fertility and endometriosis. And this is probably the theme around endo that I am most passionate about. This is the theme around endo that I get most despondent about and most angry about, because I think it's the most damaging rhetoric that we are given around endo. Maybe second to the rhetoric that you can't feel better, but this is pretty much up there. When I was preparing for this podcast, I Googled fertility and endometriosis, and I was told by pretty much every website, in fact, it was every website bar one that I looked at, told me that I would either struggle to get pregnant with endometriosis or it would be unlikely that I would get pregnant with endometriosis. And that simply isn't true. And it is so damaging, just because when we are trying to get pregnant, when we are trying to conceive, stress and anxiety is one of the most damaging things that you can be going through when you're trying to conceive. I mean, we all have heard stories of people who've been trying to conceive, sometimes even for years, and then they give up trying, they stop thinking about it, and suddenly baby appears. That's because stress and anxiety is probably the worst natural contraception. It messes with your hormones in such a way that conception is incredibly difficult if you are stressed. If you want to have a baby and you're told that you can't have one, that causes untold stress and anxiety, incredible emotional upheaval on your body, and that all impacts massively on your emotions. So please, if you only take one thing from that podcast, please take that actually endometriosis does not necessarily impact on your ability to have a child. If we look at the stats, now I know you can make stats say anything you want, you can make stats back up any argument you have, but if you look at the actual conception rates between the general populace and people with endometriosis, there isn't that much different. There certainly isn't the difference that we'd expect to see in a condition where people are telling you you are unlikely to get pregnant. So in 2018, the general populace conception rate was between 80 and 90% in the UK. Now, I'm aware that that includes people with endometriosis, but in general, in the UK, conception rates were between 80 and 90%. When you look at people with endometriosis, conception rates drop to between 70 and 80%. That is not a massive difference. That's not a huge difference at all. So please, I mean, if you were entering into any other thing where they say, okay, your chances of success are between 70 and 80%, you'd probably more than likely take that chance, depending on what the activity was. But they are not bad success rates at all. So please don't think that just because you have endo, you can't have children. I have had so many conversations over the years that really haven't changed even now. People even saying to me, oh, my friend has endometriosis, so she can't have children. It's like it goes hand in hand. I've got endo, I don't think I'll be able to have kids. Why is that? Oh, just because I've got endo. Okay, doesn't necessarily follow. What is true is that the more severe your endometriosis has, the chances of you struggling to get pregnant could be increased. Again, it's not a given, but stats do bear fruit that the more severe your endo is, the longer it can take you to conceive. And I'll talk you through why that is. But again, it's not a given that you can't have children just because you've got stage 4 endometriosis or sort of deeply infiltrating endo. It all depends on what your endo looks like and where it is in terms of how it impacts your fertility. The good thing is that once you have that label of endometriosis, you're fast-tracked in the UK for fertility specialist treatment. So, and again, this changes from postcode to postcode, so it's worth speaking to your GP if you are thinking about pregnancy. But generally speaking, in the UK, you have to wait around 2 years of trying to conceive before you're eligible for specialist tests, IVF support, that kind of thing. With endometriosis, that can be as little as 6 months. So do bear that in mind. That's one of the benefits of the rhetoric. They assume you're going to struggle, so they've put in place things to help. Doesn't necessarily mean you will, but let's take advantage. There are many, many disadvantages to endometriosis, especially in the healthcare system. This is one of the good things. So 6 months. As soon as you are starting to try to conceive, go and tell your doctor that that's what you are doing, because that's when the clock starts ticking. So if you tell your doctor today that you are trying to conceive with endometriosis, you should then have 6 months to conception. If that doesn't work, then the pathway for further diagnosis and treatment can commence. Not that you'll necessarily need it. Don't believe the rhetoric that you'll need it, but it's always nice to have that kind of safety net. So why is fertility impacted by endometriosis? The first thing is it isn't necessarily. It can be, just the same as anybody can be impacted by infertility. The two main reasons, well, there's three main reasons. The first reason, I suppose, is the mindset issue. So if you believe you're not going to get pregnant, especially, like I say, if you want to get pregnant, that's going to cause all sorts of upset. Your hormones will be all over the place because of the stress and the anxiety. So that's probably one of the main reasons that we struggle to get pregnant, is that's because we don't believe we can. I was told that very thing when I was diagnosed. I believed it. To be honest, they only told me that when they were pushing for me to have a hysterectomy. So I should have kind of thought about it a little bit more than I did at the time. But actually what they said was completely wrong. I had my stats done later on in life, and actually there is no reason why I couldn't have had a baby in all of those years. So don't believe the rhetoric. If you do want to have a baby, go and get the tests, find out exactly what your circumstances are, because if you just go on the fact that they're telling you you're going to be more unlikely to have a baby, the stress and the anxiety, the impact of that on your hormones, it's almost becoming a self-fulfilling prophecy. So understand the reality first. So the two main physical reasons that endometriosis could impact on your fertility. The first one is the deeply infiltrating endo. So I should say in the UK, we still use the grading system. So grades 1 to 2 seem to have absolutely no impact on your fertility journey at all. The impact on fertility only seems to happen around stage 3 and 4. But again, if you've got stage 3 and 4, don't assume that you're going to struggle getting pregnant. Even stage 3 to 4 or endometriosis has a 75% chance of success with pregnancy. That's 60% natural, the rest with IVF support or enhanced conception support. But that's still a big success number. So don't assume that just because you've got stage 4 endo, you can't get pregnant, because like I say, 75% success rate with stage 3 or 4. But the problems we get with deeply infiltrating endo and with the cysts are predominantly what's going to impact on our fertility. So, for example, in order for the egg to become a baby, it needs a clear passage. It needs a clear passage from the follicle, from the ovary, down through the tubes, down to your uterus. So it needs that passage to be clear. If you've got a massive amount of scar tissue on your ovaries, then that can impact on that journey. So understanding whether your tubes are blocked is the first thing to do. In not every case, the scar tissue results in blocked ovaries, but that's one of the things that can impact. The other thing is the cyst. Now, most women that I've worked with on this journey who have cysts, it's not actually the cyst that's blocking the tube, but what can happen with the cysts is when we get cysts with endometriosis, they are filled with the kind of toxic gunk that can come out of us at the end of our period. You know, that kind of quite strong smelling, greyish, brownish gunk, for want of a better word. That's what I call it with my clients. Not particularly specific, not particularly scientific, but it's gunk. So the chocolate cysts, our endometriomas, are filled with this gunk, and that, in terms of Chinese medicine, that's textbook stagnation. It's kind of that damp toxicity result that's happening. So if you think about it in terms of water, if you think about a stream that's got a blockage in it and you start to see all the water going a little bit stagnant, it starts to get a little bit thicker, it starts to get darker in colour if water has a colour, but it starts to get a little bit thicker, things just aren't moving, leaves and things are getting stuck in it, and it's just getting a little bit toxic. That's exactly the same as what's happening in our cysts. So our cysts are kind of sitting, holding this fluid that's just gradually getting more and more toxic. Now, it's not getting toxic to a level where it's going to cause sepsis or anything like earth-shattering like that, but what it is doing is impacting on the systems that are happening around it. So where your egg is trying to grow, where the follicles are trying to grow, where your egg is trying to develop, it's impacting on the quality of that egg. So even though that egg may be free to travel on its little journey, the quality of it means that it may not get beyond the implantation stage. So they're the two major reasons why physically endometriosis could impact on the fertility. It's blocking the egg's journey, and it's impacting on the quality of the egg that you're getting. The number of the eggs, pretty much everything you can ascertain through blood tests and through tests that your doctor can give you. The one thing that they can't currently give you is the quality of the eggs that you're producing. So do everything you can to maximise the quality of the egg. So there should be, it's not a good word should, but I'm going to say it in this instance, there should be an offer of surgery if you have cysts, if you have the chocolate cysts, to remove the cysts. That should massively impact on your egg quality. And similarly, think about ablation surgery if there's a lot of deeply infiltrating, but just be mindful of the possible consequences of that surgery. But it has been shown to impact on people. Now, again, it could be a physical thing, so you kind of get your tubes unblocked. Also, there's an element of the mindset thing here. So a lot of people kind of think they have the surgery and then they think, right, fab, I've had the surgery, I will be able to get pregnant now, and that mindset shifts. So do whatever you can to improve that mindset and to improve your chances, either surgery or naturally. So again, in terms of generic information, now this is not, as I say quite often, this is not information that's designed for you specifically as an individual, because I don't know how your endometriosis manifests. I don't know what symptoms you're having, but in terms of general advice to maximise your fertility, I would say 3 things. 1, minimise your stress and anxiety. Do whatever you need to do to stay calm, to take the stress and the anxiety away. Don't get hung up on your pregnancy journey. I know it's really difficult, but try to relax. Try to live a stress-free life as you can for the duration of time that you are trying to conceive. Number 2, the food that you are eating. So minimise processed food. And to be honest, this is pretty much the same advice in terms of diet as I would give anybody with endometriosis. But try to maximise natural food, organic food. Eat seasonally. Our bodies are still conditioned to eat certain types of food different seasons. So in the winter, stay clear of salads. Eat things like stews and casseroles. And in the summer, try and eat lighter seasonal food. Food like cucumber and tomato is actually cooling, and what we want to do when we're trying to conceive is to preserve that kidney energy. So we like to eat nice warming foods. We don't want the body cooling too much. So if it's winter, the body's already kind of a little bit cooler in terms of Chinese medicine. So we want to be eating warming, nurturing foods. Root vegetables. If you eat meat, try to stick to organic meat. Try to limit your meat intake a little bit, but when you're eating, it's better to eat less meat but good quality meat than it is to have a lot of sort of the cheaper mass-produced meat. So eat seasonally, eat organically, eat good quality meat. If you're plant-based, then, and this is controversial, but if you're plant-based, then try and steer away from the manufactured plant-based foods. So things like tofu and things like that, try and steer away from them and stick to whole grains, lentils, vegetables, natural stuff that hasn't been processed. The more natural the food, the better it is for your conception journey. And then the third bit of general advice I can give is stay hydrated. So important in terms of your fertility journey to keep everything lush and plump and hydrated. The more hydrated you are, the better our systems work. The easier the passage of the egg will be, the more voluptuous your womb lining will be, the easier the transitions will be. So basically everything's on a cycle. Your hormones are on a cycle. Everything works on such a thin balance, and that balance is improved if everything's working better, and everything works better when it's hydrated. So there's other things you can do as well. Acupuncture's fabulous, acupressure, reflexology. These are all the things that I go through with my clients. And I would urge you, if you are trying to conceive, to explore as many of these as you can. Acupuncture is well known for its benefits. Reflexology as well is a beautiful treatment that can really help with fertility and conception. Anything as well that's relaxing you, that's giving you general well-being. Exercise and movement is so important. Keep things moving as much as you can. Gentle movements if you're not into HIIT. In fact, a lot of people say that high intensity stuff is bad for you when you're trying to conceive. It all depends on what you normally do. I'm giving you way more than 3 here, but it all depends on what you normally do. So if your body is used to 3 or 4 sessions of high intensity aerobic exercise a week, then stick to that. Don't be changing anything massively. But if you're not into exercise, then do start moving a bit more, because keeping movement flowing is essential, again, if you're going to maximise your chance of conception. So go for gentle walks, do some qigong, yoga if you want, but I will always advocate, not always, but I will mostly advocate qigong over yoga, especially if you're not into, if you don't do anything like that on an ordinary basis. So move as much as you can, get out into nature, connect with nature, get plenty of fresh air, eat seasonal, eat organic, and stay hydrated. And that will maximise your chance of conception. If you want detailed advice specific to yourself as well, then like I say, contact somebody who can help you, who can go through your symptoms, who can talk through exactly what you've got going on. But please do not think that just because you've got endometriosis, your fertility will be impacted, because that is not necessarily the case. If you are trying to conceive, best of luck. I wish you every luck and every happiness on your journey, and please do let me know how you get on. Thank you so much for tuning in today. I really hope that you found this podcast helpful. If you did, please hit follow so you can listen to more, and please also share it with anyone else who you think will benefit. And don't forget, if you're looking for women's health treatments, workshops or support within your workplace, you can find all of my services, including our monthly virtual clinic, over at www.halcyonwomenshealth.com. I'll see you next time.